Yo guys, hope you're all good and welcome back to the channel. On today's video we're going to do a how to gap jump tutorial on how to really maximize the distance using the gap jump method. We did do a video a few weeks ago which was 5 quick ways to jump across gaps, but we've had loads of requests since then to go into a little bit more depth and detail of that original gap jump technique. For those of you who don't know, the gap jump technique is basically a back hop on your back wheel with your front wheel in the air, but using a coordinated move of kicking on your pedal whilst you let go of your back brake, all before pulling your back brake on again before you land, and that constitutes basically hopping forwards on your back wheel. So we're going to move over onto the pallet and the sleeper setup that we have, and we're going to show you guys a few pointers of how to really get you hopping further with those gap jumps. So this setup, we basically have 2 similarly height stacks of pallets that we can really work on the technique, and then we've also got a drop gap on the second set of pallets that's going to give us a little bit of an opportunity to get some more air time, giving you a bit more of a chance to learn the technique and maximise your distance. So this setup and gap is quite within my sort of skill set, so I don't need to think too much of the technique that I need. I should be able to kind of skip across it, but then as it gets bigger, I'm going to have to work on the technique of how to really get every inch I can out of the bike and my body to get across some of the bigger gaps that we'll get to shortly. So like I said, luckily that's kind of within my sort of medium effort. So to show you the technique of maximising the distance, I'm going to pull that pallet stack back, I'm going to pull this sleeper back, and then show the methods of how to maximise the hops. So like I said, now this gap's a little bit bigger. It's not quite as straightforward as it once was, so I'm going to have to really think about how to maximise the gap distance that I can do. I'm going to do this in a few different ways, and one of them is the preload, which is basically when you're on your back wheel, it's all about crouching down into your bike as much as you can, similar to bunny hops, and getting over on the bike as low as possible to really be able to maximise that change of direction and momentum. So yeah, if you look back in the slow-mo there, you'll see me crouching into the bike, over the back wheel and almost a little bit down below it before springing up with a really explosive movement to really maximise that change of momentum and fire across the gap and hopefully make it to the other side. I think we need to make it a little bit bigger though. Oh, that seems quite big now. Big preload and then like a really big explosive kind of launch off that sort of low position that you are on your bike, so you really spring up and get maximum change of momentum. Oh my god, way too chill. That's me pretty much maxing out using the preload method, and I think the only way I'm going to get extra distance in those gaps is if I combine that preload method, but also will be really thinking about tucking my back wheel up for as long as I can, because the further it is up into my body, the further away it will be before the back wheel needs to hit basically. So it's all about combining the preload method with a big tuck and really holding that bike up in the air for as long as you can. It's definitely something that I'm honestly not very good at, and it's one thing I would say is you really need to exaggerate both those moves, because it's the sort of thing that when you're doing it, you'll feel like you're doing it loads, but when you actually watch yourself back, especially in slow-mo, you're literally barely doing it. So like there, if I watch that back, I'm probably not doing it actually as much as I think. So it's all about going super low, super explosive, and then really making a massive effort to tucking it up as much as you can, because like I said, when you watch that back, it won't look how it feels basically. Actually, I think I'm going to struggle to get across this. What was that, like 9 feet or something? Yeah. All the TGS and comp guys watching this video and probably like, that is absolutely pathetic. They can go like twice as big. Get up on my back wheel, go slight angle, big preload down, slightly to the other side of the way that I'm going, do my gap, but then hold up that back wheel for as long as I can before planting it down on the other pallet. Hopefully on the other side, and not somewhere halfway across the gap. It's hard. Now watch that back in slow. So true to my point, I've just watched myself back. I'm definitely not preloading, and I'm definitely not tucking as much as I thought. So I'm going to go back, get the preload even bigger, get a bigger snap, and then really make an extra effort to hold that back wheel up to my body to maximise the distance I can go. Probably didn't look like much, but I definitely tucked more there, I think. Just managed to get me across it. Right, here you go. Definitely the tuck that did the difference there. I think I just kept it high for a little bit longer than I was before. And that was the difference of that, like a couple of inches to get me across it. One thing I was also thinking there is 95% of the gap jumps you ever do are like a chilled movement. It's like when you're just gap jumping from place to place. You really need to like flick that switch in your head for when you're doing the gap, just to really kick as hard as you can, preload as hard as you can, pop as hard as you can, and tuck as hard as you can. I know I just keep going on about it, but I'm pretty much telling myself that as much as I am all you guys too. So a mixture of just really making an extra effort to kick it super hard there, and while it might not look like a crazy tuck, I definitely just held the back wheel up a little bit longer than I otherwise would, and I think that made the difference of that couple of inches. So as you saw there, it's quite difficult to really sort of get the air time to think about that tuck and like really pull up. So one thing you can do, obviously within your sort of comfort zone, is put a little bit of a drop gap in it, because it just gives you like straight off the bat that little bit of extra air time. So it gives you a wee bit more time to think about holding that back wheel up for as long as you can before eventually placing it back down on the obstacle you're hopping to on the other side. Oh, that was a close one. I need to watch that one back, but yeah. Again, same as the one that I pulled before. Just a little bit more of a conscious effort to really kick as hard as I can, get that preload in, and remember to tuck. Quick tip, if you're going to be working your gap jumps and really try to max out your distance, especially if it's a drop gap setup you're practicing on, you definitely need to warm up, because even more so than other tricks, you'll be feeling it in the morning, because as you get to your limit, you're always going to be landing right on the edge, and your handlebars are basically going to be trying to tug your whole arms out of their sockets. So unless you're warmed up, you're going to be feeling it in the morning. Pretty happy with that. Definitely something I need to work on over the next couple of weeks, but at least we've got a good setup. But yeah, going to call it there. As always, please let us know your questions on the technique we just talked about in the comments, and I'll do my best to get back to you. We'd love to hear some techniques that you'd like to see more on. We've got a good setup here, so more than happy to make some more videos for you guys. So please let us know. Be sure to hit up Rory for thanks again for filming, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see some more.